What's up, everybody? If you are new to this channel, welcome. If you're Googling around for Tepache and looking for some information on that, this is my first time trying this Mexican fermented beverage. If you are not new to this channel, you will know that I occasionally ferment other things or experiment with flavoring, making liqueurs, but mainly, of course, we do home brewing, making beer, cider, mead, things like that. But today, we are doing something different. I'm going to take a crack at making Tepache. It is a Mexican beverage with pineapple. It seems like there's a number of different approaches. I didn't do a ton of research to find out, really digging deep into the authentic nature of what this is. However, there usually is sugar, there's always pineapple, there is often cinnamon mentioned. The other thing that some people do is some type of pepper, habanero, jalapeno. I have a different one here, or also ginger. So any of these things can be put together. The idea is that it will spontaneously ferment for a short period of days. You bottle it, the fermentation continues, it gets carbonated, and then you have a very, very low alcohol, but sweet, possibly spicy beverage. There's a good video. One of the videos that's been watched many times is Brad from Bon Appetit. If you go YouTube search this, he makes Tepache. That's an entertaining video. He likes the result that he gets, so I'm kind of following his approach. And I also found someone who sort of based her approach on his video, and I read through her write-up on it too. So basically, there's not a lot to it. It's basically chopping up some things, getting in a container. I have this glass jug that's oversized, but it's what I have to use, so I'm going to use it. Let's get at it. So here is what I will be using. You do not need all of these things, from what I gather, but this is what I have. I do not have a habanero. What I believe this is a purple ghost or a butt galokia, something like that. It seems to be 5 times or so more potent than a habanero, which you're said to be able to use an entire one. So I will probably just use a little bit of this, just for a little bit of flavor and heat. This is the size of a ginger I have, but I'll probably use half of this because this size nub, if you see a spatula tip here, is probably a lot for just 3 to 4 bottles of this beverage. I do not have a cinnamon stick, so you can substitute half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon per cinnamon stick, so we'll do that. I do not have piloncillo sugar, but I have brown sugar, and either one I've seen used in these recipes. I'll use a cup of that, and I have a pineapple, and that is it. Okay, so here we go. I want to get the sugar dissolved, so I'm going to go. I washed this out well. If you do any brewing, you of course would have it cleaned and sanitized, but I'm not going to sanitize it. I just had a very clean, good scrub with soapy water. The amount of water that is discussed when talking about making this is very unclear. I think I saw a couple of recipes that maybe used an amount, but otherwise they just say water to cover. So what that would mean is you would put the pineapple in there first and then just put water over it to cover it, but in my thinking, there's a little bit of juice in here, but otherwise, however much water you use is how much Tepache you're going to get. And if you don't put some water in there, you're not going to get much Tepache. So I will cut this pineapple up quick, throw it in there. I might do more water. I will see. I mean, that's a whole cup of sugar, which if you're making a gallon of kombucha, use a cup of sugar. I only put 2 cups of water in there right now, so that's far from a gallon. Alright, so here's my ginger. Like I said, I think this is much more than I need. In fact, I'm going to do about half of this. Brad, in that video I mentioned, he used his knife to crush it to release the juices. I suppose you could do that. You could also just...
Modeling.
The peanut gallery says it's muddling, but otherwise, you know what? We're just gonna... Well, okay, fine. Now watch out.
Oh, that's not modeling.
No, it's just breaking it down a little bit, but you know what? We're just going to kind of cube it up a little bit. So that's half of that amount of ginger. Now here is this Galokia that's supposed to be very, very hot, and I am not going to really mess with this too much. I'm just going to go like this. It's been in the freezer. I couldn't even tell you where I got it, but I can tell you where this is going to go. Bang. Okay. Now, the last and the most exciting thing. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the cinnamon. I looked up and it said half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon is a good substitute for 1 cinnamon stick. I didn't feel like buying a package of cinnamon sticks just for a little bit of cinnamon flavor. Give that a little stir. So, you do not use the top. Jeez Louise. Look at all those scales. It's like an alien. Alright, so, and you do not use the bottom, but what you do use is the outside. So, you can quarter it, comme ça. People, I've seen different approaches. Generally, they seem to cut, well, I think it's the Brad video that I've been referring to. He cuts a little bit of the quarter out. Quarter? Corner?
Core.
Core. Yeah, that. Again with the peanut gallery. This time, it was helpful. Okay, so, there we go. And otherwise, you want all of the pineapple fruit in there. It's just supposed to be cut into chunks. I don't think there's any great, you know, requirement here. Curious to see how this is going to look once it gets in there. Smells good. You know what? I better do some quality control. That's good. I never buy fresh pineapple. This dumb pineapple was $1.49. I don't know why I don't buy it more. Maybe I will. Okay, so I'll get this in there. I'll kind of stir it around a little bit. I'll take the camera off the tripod and we'll check the water level. So this is what it looks like with 2 cups of water. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more water and keep track of how much I add, and we'll see what we get to. So I was adding water and I got to a point where I had added 48 more ounces for 54 ounces total, and it is floating, but we went and looked at the Bon Appetit video and his pineapple is floating. He has a narrower jar, so it's in his video it's filled up much taller, but this is a pretty wide jar. I'm guessing I have about the volume that he has for his one pineapple, and maybe I have roughly the amount of liquid. But now you wait a couple of days and we will see if we can tell that it's actively fermenting. So it has been 2.5 days since I made this. Tonight will be the mark of the 3rd day. They say to let it go 2 or 3 days, and all of these bubbles are the most amount of bubbles that I have seen. Even last night I did not have this much. I wonder if I can see. So, I don't know what it smells like. Woo! It Smells like some ripe fermenting pineapple stuff. So I'm pretty happy to see this. So either tonight I will do the whole packaging thing and then let it carbonate, or maybe I'll let it go another day. Probably do a taste test. This is my first time. I just wonder if this got a little slower start than some of them might. So I don't know if I'll let it go 3 days or 4, but it's at least doing something. So it has now been 3 days and it is finally kicked off. Now I'm noticing these brown spots, sort of a Croissant-like thing if you're familiar with brewing, but it has really kicked off. It's finally showing some bubbles earlier, but it's been 3 days. I did a little taste earlier. It was nice enough, sweet, a little bit spicy, but I think it's really fermenting now, so I'm gonna taste it again tomorrow and see if I think I should package it. So this is what it looks like on day 4 after putting it all together. I think I was reading about 2 to 3 days, but it really didn't start getting going until day 3, and I've been tasting it a little bit, and I think I'm at the point now where it would be good to package because it's not quite as sweet as it was earlier, but it still has a lot of sweetness. I know we want the pineapple flavor. I'm pretty sure it will still carbonate. So what I'm going to try to do is use this filtering mechanism, and everybody can do it their own way, but I've got actually got a strainer under here. That's this thing. And then I've got this bag. So hopefully I'll get most of the stuff from going into the jar, and then we'll bottle it out of there. Woo! What a smell. This might actually take a while now that I see how this is going, because this is running through here kind of slow and I'm going to have all these chunks. So there might not be a whole lot of video to shoot. Although the juice is coming out first. And it does have a nice yellow color. But what I'll end up doing is getting the chunks in here, and then I'll be letting them sit and drain. And we're just going to try to get as much juice as I can. So it looks like I got about half a gallon, which is 64 ounces. And oh, you know what? I think I misspoke. Now that I think about it, I was going to make a note. I think I said 48 ounces and I had a pint in there, so I said 54. Well, no, it would be 64. So if I look at this, that's about what I got out of it. I've got the pineapple sitting here. I also tasted a piece, and kind of like you would expect, what it tastes like is kind of alcoholic pineapple meat. It's kind of has a little cinnamon and a little bit of heat to it. There's a tiny bit of an alcohol character, otherwise it's your juicy pineapple. Maybe a little bit less sweet now because some of the sugars have been fermented. But what I'm going to do, I've got a bunch of these swing top bottles. Yeah, I mean like 4 or 5 of these will be enough for package this up. So let's get it bottled. Now, if you don't have all this home brewing stuff, I've seen people use a funnel and a small funnel and filling bottles. That's another way you can do it. I'm just going to get a siphon going here. Okay. Let's see. I got a little bit of headspace on the top, but I might leave a little bit more. Okay. So I'm not gonna film filling all of these. You just gotta get all your bottles filled however you can. So these are the 4 that I filled. I don't know the number of ounces by the bottles, but looking at the container, it was gonna be about 64 ounces. I'll give them 2 days at least before trying one, maybe 3, and then we'll give it a taste. So here it is the morning after I bottled them, and as you can see, they have either a little kreuzen, not really a pellicle, but there's indications that it is still fermenting. So I will at least leave them 2 days total before opening one, maybe 3, but it does look like the carbonation is still happening, and maybe there will be a little bit of sediment at the bottom, which I guess would be normal for this kind of thing. I can't really tell right now with what I'm looking at, but it seems to be carbonating. Now we're gonna taste this stuff. I left it room temperature on the counter for 2 days. You'll see things about 2 to 3 days, but I saw this other video and somebody was saying that it really carbonates fast, or it can. Maybe don't let it go 3 days. I did do one tasting already and it was carbonated, so let's see how this one is. I think it was kind of stuck down a little more than the other one we had, but yeah, definitely carbonated. Look at that, natural carbonation to spare. Okay. Okay, so I have Chip joining me. He actually was walking by when we opened the first bottle. This is only the second time. Virtual cheers. Or maybe not 6 feet, but you know, we're turning the dial. We're opening. We're reopening. It's a 4-foot thing. So I think the aroma is interesting. You definitely get some pineapple, some like fleshy pineapple fruit, juicy.
Yeah,
I get the actual, you know, the meat of the fruit, right?
I get that wild yeast. I said this the other night when we walked, but like the first thing I get is this like really kind of like funky, clean. And I don't know my wild yeast well enough to know, is it this, is it that, is it that, but there's definitely like something reminiscent from those like, but I mean the pineapple and the sweetness are way above it. I mean it is definitely down here.
And I think there's sort of this brothy aroma, and it almost is like a, not in a bad way or put anybody off, but almost like a BO type of an aroma. I don't know if it tastes like that. Now, speak to the other flavors. Do you get...
In the nose?
No, flavors.
Well, you told me it has cinnamon, ginger, and some kind of hot pepper.
Yeah, it has this purple ghost.
Purple ghost.
That I believe is a Galokia, something like that. I referenced it and you saw it in the thing. I only did a little bit of it because it was supposed to be very, very hot. Now, I actually think this could definitely have more heat, a little more heat. Not maybe a lot more.
I get the heat from the ginger, like more than I would assume that I'm getting heat from a hot pepper. But that's a great, refreshing ginger ale-y kind of sensation and flavor.
That's interesting. I guess I wouldn't know if I could distinguish where the heat's coming from.
Yeah.
But it does have a little bit of spice, which is something that I went and watched a number of other Tepache videos. Some of them are in Spanish, which was kind of fun to see, but doesn't do me a lot of good other than just looking at what they do. Some of the
no gringo.
Some of it comes out more brown, but I also have seen this pale straw yellow kind of color as well.
I wonder if that's from
maybe the Pioncilio.
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting the fly today. I was getting the fly in your garage.
He's like, dude, that thing is sweet, and this thing is sweet. Like you said, it probably doesn't have much alcohol to it because it's not like it ate through all that sweetness. Like this thing is residually really highly sweet.
And it's 1 cup of sugar in a half gallon. So just, I did not do gravity readings. I considered it, and then I thought, well, let's just not do it this time. One thing I did not do that I forgot to do is after in the video you saw where I poured all of the stuff into the strainer and got all the Tepache liquid out of it, I should have put all that stuff back into the container and added another half gallon of water and another cup of sugar and made a second batch, because there would have been probably a lot of yeast still around, and still the pineapple, I ended up eating the pineapple, and it did have a little bit of this booziness to it. It tasted
or
nice.
even just like a little like sparkle to it, right? Just a little.
Yeah,
it's got
well,
a little zip on it.
fermentation aspect. But I should have done a second runnings, a party guile, whatever. I mean, that
Solera.
was there. Maybe that's a better. Well, regardless or
course I'm right.
irregardless. Well, isn't that when you're pouring it down? You're going from thing to thing to thing, topping things off.
To a degree, yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's more about using the dregs of something to feed the next.
Okay, sure.
Like vinegar.
Solera. I should have Solera'd it. But anyway, I don't know. This is, it was easy, fairly easy. It's interesting. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have not even made a comment about the probiotic aspect of this. A lot of people touch on that in their videos. That's not why I would do this. I mean, there's other ways.
It feels
to
like
do
it
your
would have that
gut,
kind of
gut health or
that
what
kind
have
of
you.
kombucha-y effect. Like it just has those vibes. It's tingly, it's carbonated. It feels like it's kind of doing something on its way down to your gut. So I can see that, but
Yeah.
we're not going to speak to the science.
No.
But we did talk about, we think it would be good to like, you could cut this with just like sparkling water if it's a little too sweet and put it in cocktails. Or what we had.
So, the Brad video that I mentioned, he put some cerveza into it, and so I actually have Italian pills that we'll be tasting in another video. So I'm just gonna. Oh, I got goosed by the piece of wood there.
You got logged?
We're gonna do about 50-50.
I drank a little bit more than I guess I probably. That's why I put it on the table. I was like, dude, if I don't stop drinking this,
Yeah.
I won't have any for the blend. So this is Italian pills, Tepache. Tepache.
Well, I immediately have a thought of what it reminds me of. I don't know if you've had the shandies, the radlers. I mean, you can buy them commercially. Sometimes brewery might pour you one in on premise.
That head just like was invigorated. Look at that.
Yeah,
That's wild.
yeah.
Because
So-
the head on the Tepache didn't like stick around very long. This
Right.
one's like almost like floating on top.
Mm-hmm. It tastes, yeah. I mean, I guess kind of like you would expect a sweetened up beer
Yeah.
shandy.
Is the Italian pills pretty residually sweet? Or is it actually pretty dry?
It's
I can't remember.
it's got a little sweetness.
Malty sweetness.
Yeah, a little bit. It's not bone dry. Anyway,
That
I
is-
guess you could do this.
that's fun.
It's fun, but I like beer. I like the Tepache. Do I need to mix them? You know, my thinking with this type of thing is like I have so little Tepache, I would rather just drink it.
Yeah.
But
You
it
got-
works.
You got
it
chocolate
works.
in my peanut butter, dude.
There you go. Anyway, check it out. Comment your Tepache exploits, your tips, your successes, failures. Give it a shot. It's pretty fun. I will probably do it again. And onward to the rest of the beer tastings.
Woo!
Alright, catch you later.